day everyone, I'm Jen Lizal A. Casquejo. We tackle about Module 3 Instructional Technique. Module Learning Outcomes. After completion of this module, the learner will be able to number 1. Design classroom motivational techniques using instructional and social strategies. Number 2. Create questions using open-ended and other techniques. Number 3. Formulate Socratic questions. Why is motivational important? Motivational plays a key role with whether we become successful in life or not, whether we reach our goals or not. This rings true to all people regardless of their status, profession, or age. We cannot achieve much without the determination to reach our goals, no matter how big or small they are. Ang motibasyon ay may mahalagang papel sa kung ano tayo ay magiging matagumpay sa buhay o hindi. Sa kahit anong gawin natin, hindi tayo magtatagumpay sa kung kulang tayo sa tiyaga at tiyaga na hadlangan ang mga hadlang na humahadlang. Para sa mga mag-aaral, ang mga pangganyak ay mahalaga upang makahabol sa pang-araw-araw na mga aralin at pagkatuto. Ang mga institusyong pang-edukasyon tulad ng mga paaralan ay hindi nagsisilbing lugar sa pagsasanay para sa mga susunod na pinuno at bilang isang lugar ng pagsasanay ng isang pundasyon ng demokrasyon, ito ay tinuturing na mahalagang papel sa pagkintal ng pakiramdam ng determinasyon sa mga mag-aaral. Sa parting ito, narito kung saan nagmula ang intrinsic at extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation from within, autonomy, mastery, purpose. Extrinsic motivation from outside, compensation, punishment, reward. Let's proceed about intrinsic, motivational, and extrinsic motivational. Ano ang intrinsic motivational? Intrinsic motivation ang pagsasagawa ng isang aktibidad bilang isang libangan nang walang panlabas ng insentibo, gayon din ang personal na kasiyahan na nakukuha sa pamamagitan ng sariling intended achievement. Ang isang panloob na puwersa ay nagdudulot ng tunay na pagganyak. Ang tao ay hindi nag-aalala tungkol sa panlabas ng pagpapatunay o pagkikilala para sa ating nakamit. Sa halip, hinihimok sila upang maisagawa ang aktibidad batay sa pakiramdam ng aksyon mismo na ibinibigay. Maaari sila ay gumamit ng isang likas na talento, kumikilos sa isang malalim na interes o tunay na nasisiyahan o nakikinikilala ang kahalagahan ng gawain na nasa kamay. Narito naman ang magkabilang panig, motivational strategies, ang extrinsic at intrinsic. Sa parting extrinsic, grades and rewards, incentives, personal praise, punishment, shaming and threats, public recognition, phone calls home. Sa parting intrinsic naman, ito ay self-improvement, increased responsibility, problem-solving, and inquiry-based learning. Base needs satisfying environment. Strategies that can promote either extrinsic or intrinsic motivational mindsets, depending on how they are applied. Positive reinforcement, assessing behavior or effort, competition, teacher relationship, instructional design. And next, we tackle about basic principles of motivation exist that are applicable to learning in any situation. Number 1, the environment can be used to focus the student's attention on what needs to be learned. Teachers who create warm and accepting yet business-like atmospheres will promote persistent effort and favorable attitudes towards learning. Ang diskarte na ito ay magiging matagumpay sa mga bata at sa mga matatanda. Ang mga kawiling-wiling tulad ng visual aid, tulad ng mga booklets, poster o kagamitan sa pagsasanay ay nag-uudyok sa mga mag-aaral sa pamamagitan ng pagkuha ng kanilang atensyon at pagkamausisa.
Number 3. Internal motivation is longer lasting and more self-directive than is external motivation, which must be repeatedly reinforced by praise or concrete rewards. Some individuals, particularly children of certain ages and some adults, have little capacity for internal motivation and must be guided and reinforced constantly. The use of incentives is based on the principle that learning occurs more effectively when the student experiences feelings of satisfaction. Caution should be exercised in using external rewards when they are not absolutely necessary. Their use may be followed by a decline in internal motivation. Internal motivation is shown when a person engages in an activity for its own reason, such as a hobby or for enjoyment, without expecting any type of external reward. For examples, participating in a sport for the sake of fun and enjoyment rather than for monetary gain, and learning a new language because you like new experiences rather than because it is required for your school requirement. Number 4. Learning is most effective when an individual is ready to learn, that is, when one wants to know something. Sometimes the student's readiness to learn comes with time, and the instructor's role is to encourage its development. If the desired change in behavior is urgent, the instructor may need to supervise directly to ensure that the desired behavior occurs. If a student is not ready to learn, he or she may not be reliable in following instructions and therefore must be supervised and have the instructions repeated again and again. Allowing the students to explore areas of interest, such as the environment, that enhances the likelihood that they will participate in the learning process. It is crucial to avoid that assuming that simply because a child succeeds in a certain subject or sport or art activity, this is their love. Allow your students the time and space to explore their interests and find what they actually enjoy doing, so that they may get the knowledge and skills necessary to thrive in the areas in which they are passionate. Giving icebreakers or energizers before the discussions begins may assist to enhance their willingness to study. And this method may enable teachers to have a solution for students who are unwilling to help themselves to learn. Number 5. Motivation is enhanced by the way in which the instructional material is organized. In general, the best organized material makes the information meaningful to the individual. One method of organization includes relating new tasks to those already known. Other ways to relay meaning are to determine whether the persons being taught understand the final outcome desired and instruct them to compare and contrast ideas. If the instructional materials are organized in such a manner that the information is precise and imaginative, or it is being creative, students will be motivated to focus on learning.
Having learners assist in defining goals increases the probability that they will understand them and want to reach them. However, students sometimes have unrealistic notions about what they can accomplish. Possibly, they do not understand the precision with which a skill must be carried out or have the depth of knowledge to master some material. To identify realistic goals, instructors must be skilled in assessing a student's readiness or a student's progress toward goals. Let's discuss the list on why instructors need to assess the student's readiness or a student's progress toward goals. Number 1, because learning requires changes in beliefs and behavior, it normally produces a mild level of anxiety. This is useful in motivating the individual. However, severe anxiety is incapacitating. A high degree of stress is inherent in some educational situations. If anxiety is severe, the individual's perception of what is going on around him or her is limited. Instructors must be able to identify anxiety and understand its effect on learning. They also have a responsibility to avoid causing severe anxiety in learners by setting ambiguous or unrealistically high goals for them. We can say that learning has taken place if there is a change in behavior or beliefs. But not everyone is ready enough for changes, and it causes them to have anxiety. Stress is something we can't really avoid in education. However, high degree of stress may cause severe anxiety, and this will deeply affect the student's learning capability and will have hard time functioning normally. That's why it is very important for the instructors to set goals that are realistic and achievable by the students to avoid causing anxiety. Number 2, it is important to help each student set goals and to provide informative feedback regarding progress toward the goals. Setting a goal demonstrates an intention to achieve and activates learning from one day to the next. It also directs the student's activities toward the goal and offers an opportunity to experience success. The instructor has a very important role of guiding their students in setting their goals. It is also important that the students are consistently updated in their progress. Making the students actively participate in working their goals will motivate them, and it will increase the possibility of achieving the goals. Number 3, both affiliation and approval are strong motivators. People seek others with whom to compare their abilities, opinions, and emotions. Affiliation can also result in direct anxiety reduction by the social acceptance and the mere presence of others. However, these motivators can also lead to conformity, competition, and other behaviors that may seem as negative. These are strong motivators in either positive or negative way. Every learner is unique. Seeking for others to compare their differences may also result in different approaches. Some may take it as a social acceptance, while it can also lead to competition. Competition may sound negative, but as we say, every learner is unique. Some students learn effectively in a competitive environment or state.
Number 4. Many behaviors results from a combination of motives. It is recognized that no grand theory of motivation exists. However, motivation is so necessary for learning. Also, motivation of other is the ability to influence the behavior of other people in such a manner as to get them to do what you expect them to do. Top 5 strategies for motivating students. Number 1. Promote growth mindset over fixed mindset. When we say growth mindset, it believes that abilities and talents can be cultivated and improved through hard work. Growth mindset students enjoy a challenge and see struggles and failures as necessary parts of growth. While fixed mindset believes that people are born with or without certain abilities and talents and that cannot be changed, and fixed mindset do not appear to be struggling. How do we foster a growth mindset in the classroom? One of the most powerful elements of feedback for our learners is to praise them for their efforts and hard work. Tells learners that they have the power to improve their academic success. Stop praising ability. For example, "Wow, you are such a smart math student," or "You are such an incredible reader." Praise for abilities over efforts reinforces the fixed mindset that students have the ability or they don't, and no amount of hard work on the learner's parts can change the outcome.
To be continued by Richelle G. Calupes. Number 2, develop meaningful and respectful relationships with your students. If we are going to truly inspire and motivate all of our students, we should know each of them on a personal level. We need to know their interests and hobbies, who they hang out with, their family situations, and what gets them excited. Each student is going to require different motivational strategies, and we have to know them to be able to predict the strategies that might work. Dito, sinasabi na kinakailangan daw ng personal na ugnayan ng isang guro at ng estudyante para malaman kung angkop ba ang estratehiyang gagamitin ng guro sa kanyang mag-aaral. Dahil minsan, kahit na hindi natin kilala ang isang mag-aaral, gagamit tayo ng iba't ibang mga techniques or mga strategies, hindi ito nagiging epektibo. Bakit? Dahil hindi natin sila ganoon kakilala. Hindi natin alam kung anong hilig nila at sa hindi nila gusto. This is an opportunity for us to learn about our students as people and to let them know that we care about them individually. This also provides an avenue for teachers to share some details about their lives outside of school. When teachers are willing to share personally and become vulnerable, students are more likely to do the same. When learners see one another as whole person, they are more willing to take risks and ask questions they need to ask in order to solve their obstacles. Ayan, sa madaling salita, kinakailangan talaga ng malalim na ugnayan ng isang guro at ng isang mag-aaral. Ayan, kung kinakailangan natin magkwento ng sarili nating karanasan patungkol sa pagtuturo kung saan man, ay gawin natin dahil dito, marirealize ng isang mag-aaral o ng estudyante natin na maaari din nilang gawin ito sa atin. Maaari din silang magbahagi ng kanilang mga karanasan, academically man o personal nilang karanasan sa buhay, maging mga assignments man, mga projects man, o patungkol sa mga sarili nilang problema. Kaya mahalaga din ito upang matukoy natin kung ano nga bang strategy ang angkop sa kanila at hindi angkop ang akma sa iba at hindi naman ang akma sa kanya. We all learn differently. In each classroom, several types of learners exist. The visual, tactile, verbal, and more reserved. We can see it as a responsibility to discover this by knowing them and endeavor to teach them accordingly. This work results in our ability to know our students, which leads to a more cohesive, open learning community. Ang mga estudyante ay may iba't ibang kakayahan, kung kaya kinakailangan natin silang alamin ng malalim ang kanilang mga interes, ang kanilang mga gusto, at ang kanilang mga hilig at ang kanilang mga hindi hilig. Dito rin sinasabi na talagang unique ang bawat isa. Merong magaling sa matematika, merong natututo gamit ang mga visual, meron namang mahina sa language o English, meron namang magaling sa arts, merong magaling sa music. Kung kaya para malaman natin kung ano nga ba talagang estratehiya ang nararapat na gamitin sa isang bata o mag-aaral, kinakailangan natin silang kilalanin ng masinsinan upang maging epektibo din ang estratehiyang ating isasagawa sa kanila. Number 3, grow a community of learners in your classroom. Students need a classroom environment that is safe, where they are willing to take risks and struggle. Dito nakapaloob na sinasabing parte ng pagkakamali ang pagkatuto. Kung kaya't kinakailangan mag-collaborate ang estudyante at mag-aaral upang matuto sa isang pagkakamali. Kagaya na lamang kung paano gabayan ng isang magulang ang kanyang anak. Gayon din naman ang ginagawa ng isang guro. Sa pamamagitan ng mga pagkakamali na naisasagawa ng isang bata, academically man o hindi, narito ang guro upang gabayan sila. Sa pamamagitan din ito, hindi lamang sa kamalian, sinasamahan ng mga guro ang kanilang mga mag-aaral, maging sa tagumpay ng mga ito, maging sa mga napalalo na nilang mga contest, maging sa mga pag-abot ng kanilang mga pangarap, kasama ng mga mag-aaral, ang kanilang ikalawang mga magulang o ang tinatawag na mga guro. Ang tradisyonal na pagtuturo ay binubuo ng mga guro na nagtuturo at mga mag-aaral na kumukuha ng mga tala na sinusundan ng mga mag-aaral na gumagawa ng independenteng gawain upang suriin ang kanilang pag-unawa. Ang pagbabago sa lumang modelong ito upang magsama ng mas maraming oras kung saan nakikipag-usap ang mga mag-aaral sa mga kapwa nila mag-aaral ay nagdudulot ng tunay na komunidad. Ang pagtutulungang pangkatang gawain ay dapat na aktibidad sa pagitan ng panayam ng guro at ng independenteng gawain. Ito ang mga panahon kung saan ang mga mag-aaral ay maaaring makita, malaman ang mga impormasyon at magtanong ng sama-sama. Ang mga mag-aaral ay nakikilahok sa kung ano ang maaaring ituring na paglutas ng problema na yugto ng kanilang pag-unlad gamit ang mga bagong ideya at magkakasama silang harapin ito sa kanilang bagong pag-aaral. Ang unti-unting pagpapalaya ng responsibilidad mula sa guro patungo sa mga mag-aaral ay naghihikayat ng mas malalim na pag-unawa sa aralin sa halip na pag-uulit-ulitin ang mga ito. Kaya ang mga mag-aaral ay kalahok sa kanilang sariling pag-aaral sa halip na mga saksi sa kaalaman ng pagtuturo. Student work should be proudly displayed throughout the classroom. This sends a message to students that they are active participants in creating the knowledge in their classroom. The teacher is not the sole holder of knowledge. Additionally, teachers can use language that promotes the community of learners, including the teacher, rather than a room full of individual learners. Using the words we and our rather than I and you has a significant impact on a classroom culture and how students function as interdependent learners. Ibig sabihin lamang na ito, sa pag-aaral na ito, hindi tayo nag-iisa. Kasama natin ang ating mga kaguruan na siyang gagabay sa atin. Mahalaga din na sa pagkatuto ng isang mag-aaral, ilagay natin sa bawat sulok ng classroom ang kanilang mga gawa nang sa gayon ay nakikita nilang sila ay na-appreciate natin sila at mapag-igipan nila ang kanilang maaring gawin. Dito sinasabi din na sa pag-aaral, huwag natin iparamdam sa ating mga mag-aaral na sila ay nag-iisa, kundi kasama nila tayong lahat, pati na ang kanilang mga kamag-aral. Dahil nga sa isang classroom, tayo ay iisang pamilya at hindi magkakabuklo-buklod o magkakahiwalay. Ayan. Sa madaling salita, sa dalawang estratehiyang tinalakay na ito, dito makikita ang dalawang mahalagang relasyon ng isang guro at ng isang estudyante. Tunay ngang kinakailangan na alam ng isang guro ang kanyang estudyante at sa gayon ang estudyante rin ay ipakilala niya ang kanyang sarili sa kanyang guro, hindi man sa pamamagitan ng pagkukwento o maging sa paggawa ng mga gawain na binibigay o iniaatas sa kanya ng kanyang guro. Dito rin makikita natin na kinakailangan talagang magsanipersa ng dalawang ito. Dahil kung ang isa lamang ang gusto ng pagkataliman ng pagkatuto ng isang tao ay walang mangyayari. kung kaya kinakailangan ng isang guro at ng isang mag-aaral na magsanib puwersa upang makamit nila ang pagkatuto na ninanais, hindi lamang academically, but for lifelong learners o habang buhay na pagkatuto. Maraming salamat po.
Establish high expectation and establish clear goals. Setting high expectations and supporting student as they struggle allows learners to rise to meet those expectations. When expectations are transparent, students know where their learning is headed and are motivated to get there because it seems possible. The path is visible. Working towards daily, weekly, and yearly goals gives students a purpose and meaning for the hard work that they do. Teachers promote high expectation of their student when they differentiate instruction, provide individualized feedback, and engage in frequent, meaningful classroom interactions in order to challenge their student and encourage continuous improvement. When teachers hold high academic expectations for the student, they tend to know their student well, value them as learners, and understand how to progress their learning. Students who experience high expectations have improved learning outcomes and are also more likely to have increased interest and motivations in lesson, greater attendance, more positive school behaviors, and higher livelihood of completing school. Number 5 is be inspirational. Most adults can recall a specific from their teacher from their childhood who had a lasting impact. These are the teachers that have inspired them, challenged, and motivated students enough to be memorable years later. One of the most difficult aspects of becoming a teacher is learning how to motivate our student. It is also one of the most important. Students who are not motivated will not learn effectively. They won't retain information, they won't participate, and some of them may even become disruptive. A student may be unmotivated for a variety of reasons. They may feel that they have no interest in the subject, find the teacher's method unengaging, or may be distracted by external forces. It may even come to light that a student who appeared unmotivated actually has difficulty learning and is needed for special attention. As a future teacher, I need to develop my skills or method in teaching. Exploring online education short courses designed to give us an in-depth understanding of various skills in teaching. While motivating, student can be a difficult task for a teachers. The rewards are more than worth it. Motivated students are more excited to learn and participate. Simply put, teaching a class full of motivated students is enjoyable for teachers and students alike. Some students are self-motivated with a natural love of learning, but even with a student who do not have this natural drive, a great teacher can make learning fun and inspire them to reach their full potential. What makes these teachers inspirational? Once our students decide that they want success, they pay close attention to the behaviors and the choices and even sacrifices that lead us to our success. These behaviors include hard work, willingness to struggle, and ability to learn from our mistake. Students internalize our behaviors and strategies as a way to accomplish their own goals. We give them an opportunity to do so in our everyday routines, assignments, and encounters with them.
And now we discuss is all about motivational factors and strategies by the period of time. When you say time period, dito papasok yung beginning or beginners. When learners enter and start learning. Ito yung mga student na papasok pa lamang at magsisimula pa lamang sa pag-aaral. Ang motivational factors para sa mga beginning o beginners ay attitude. that towards the environment, teacher, subject matters, and self. Gayun din ang ating needs, ating pangangailangan. The basic need within the learner at the time of learning. Sa motivational factor ng mga beginners ay dapat sapat ang ating mga pinapakitang disiplina na ayon sa ating kapaligiran, sa ating tinuturo, sa ating mga sarili. At gayon din, napupunan ng ating pangangailangan sa ating pag-aaral. Ang motivational strategies naman para sa mga beginning is first, make the condition that surrounds the subject positive. Second, positively confront the possible erroneous belief, expectation, and assumption that may underlie a negative learning attitude. Third, reduce or remove content of the learning environment that lead to failure or fear. And lastly, plan activities to allow learners to meet STEAM needs. Now, time period is during. When you say during, dito naman papasok yung when learners is involved in the body or main context of the learning process. Dito yung mga bata ay main context nila yung pagkatuto or proseso ng pagkatuto ng mga estudyante. Ang main factors or motivational factors nito ay stimulation. Stimulation process affecting learners during the learning experience. Dito dapat ang motivational natin ay nakakaapekto sa kasiglahan at proseso ng pagkatuto ng mga bata. And then affect the emotional experience of the learner while learning. Motivational strategy for during learners is first, change style and content of learning activity. Second, make learner reaction involvement essential parts of the learning process, that is problem solving, role playing, and stimulation. Third, use learner concern to organize content and to develop teams and teaching procedures. Then last, use a group cooperation goal to maximize learner involvement and sharing. Sa time period of ending naman, ito naman yung when learners is completing the learning process. Ito yung mga student is kompleto na sa proseso ng pagkatuto. Motivational strategies natin dito is first, competence. Competence value for the learner that is a result of the learning behavior. Dito makikita yung naging resulta ng mga estudyante sa sa natutunan nila sa kanilang mga teacher. And reinforcement. Their reinforcement value attached the learning experience for the learner. And then sa motivational strategies ng time period of ending, first is provide consistent feedback regarding mastery of learning. Second, acknowledge and reinforcement. Their reinforcement value attached the learning experience for the learner. And then sa motivational strategies ng time period of ending, first is provide consistent feedback regarding mastery of learning. Second, acknowledge and affirm the learner's responsibility in the completing the learning task. Third, when learning has natural consequences, allow them to be congruently evident. And lastly, provide artificial reinforcement when it contribute to successful learning and to provide close with a positive ending. And that's all.
Motivational strategies refer to instructional interventions applied by the teacher to stimulate and elicit student motivation. So what is instructional interventions? It helps struggling students to measure their progress. Instructional interventions, also called academic interventions. It deals with a student's academic problem areas like reading, math, or another subject.
For example, when a child struggles with reading skills, educators will employ reading intervention strategies. This type of intervention involves more detailed tracking of progress and frequent adjustment to reach a student's optimal academic proficiency. Also, this instructional intervention also includes response to intervention, which involves 3 tiers of intervention that become increasingly intense while attempting to address the child's core academic need. And also self-regulating strategies that are used purposefully by individual students to manage the level of their own motivation. Okay, the first example, practice self-control with games, create a shared journal, explicitly teach self-regulation skills, use literature, use visuals as reminders, create a social scripts binder, give movement breaks, practice mindfulness. So let us proceed to instructional strategies for motivation. Number 1, hold high but realistic expectation for students. So what is the meaning of this? Knowing every student, valuing them as learners, and understanding how to support their learning. So is all part of holding high expectations. When teachers hold high expectations, it can boost students' confidence and motivation, which in turn impacts on learning and achievement. High expectations promote both students' academic achievement and their well-being. Okay, so number 2, help students set achievable goals for themselves. Okay, setting a goal obligates an individual to take action, regardless of the obstacles that may be in place. As such, it can encourage students to develop critical thinking skills, new problem-solving techniques, and a better understanding of how to overcome issues. It also helps them to develop a growth mindset. Okay, number 3. Okay, tell students what they need to do to succeed in class. Okay, don't let your students to struggle to figure out what is expected of them. Reassure students that they can do well in your course and tell them exactly what they must do to succeed in the class. And say something to the effect that if you can handle the examples of these problem sheets, you can pass the exam. People who have trouble with this example can ask for extra help. Or instead of saying you're way behind, tell the student to, here is one way you could go about learning the material. Ask them how can we help them. Okay? Okay, number 4, strengthen students' self-motivation. So what is this? Avoid messages that reinforce your power as an instructor or a teacher, that emphasize intrinsic rewards. Instead of saying, I require, you must, or you should, stress, I think you will find, or I will be interested in your reaction. Okay, number 5, avoid creating intense competition among students. Keep in mind that competitiveness by itself is generally not a bad thing. It's how people approach competitions that can make them unhealthy. Students are more attentive, display better comprehension, produce more work, and are more favorable to the teaching method when they work cooperatively in groups rather than compete as individuals. Refrain from public criticisms of students' performance and from comments or activities that pit students against one another. Okay, number 6, be enthusiastic about the subject. An instructor's enthusiasm is a crucial factor in student motivation. If you become bored or apathetic, students will too because they will feel it. Typically, an instructor's enthusiasm comes from confidence, excitement about the content, and genuine pleasure in teaching. If you find yourself uninterested in the material, think back to what attracted you to the field and bring those aspects of the subject matter to life for your students, or challenge yourself to devise the most exciting way to present the material, however dull the material itself it may seem to you. Teacher enthusiasm can lead to better teaching evaluations, positive attitudes towards teachers, better student performance, and improved classroom behavior. Number 7, work from students' strengths and interests. An instructor should be sure not to focus on what they want to teach or what on they are required to teach, but concentrate more on teaching what the students might find interesting. What do the students find intrinsically motivating? What are their wants or needs? By avoiding work in which students will be criticized or punished, the students' intrinsic motivation will be ignited. Okay, number 8. When possible, let students have say in choosing what will be studied. Okay, give students opinion on term papers or other assignments, but not on tests. Okay, let students decide between two locations for the field trip, for example, or have them select which topics to explore in greater depth. If possible, include optional or alternative units in the course. Number 9, increase the difficulty of the material as the school year progress. Okay, because every school year is a new chapter for the students, for them to learn again something new, explore, and be adventurous, and also for them to aim high and be persistent in their studies. Number 10, varied teaching methods. Okay, instructors who teach in a variety of ways are able to meet the diverse of all their students. Variety reawakens students' involvement in the course and their motivation. Break the routine by incorporating a variety of teaching activities and methods in your course. Okay, role-playing, debates, brainstorming, discussion, demonstration, case studies, audiovisual presentations, guest speakers, all small group work. Okay, number 11, emphasize mastery learning rather than grades. Okay, researchers recommend de-emphasizing grading by eliminating system of credit points. They also advise against trying to use grades to control non-academic behavior. For example, lowering grades for missed classes. Instead, assign ungraded written works. Stress the personal satisfaction of doing assignments and help students to measure their progress. Okay, because mastery learning ensures that every student reaches mastery in a unit before moving on, boosting achievement and building lifelong learners. Also, for example, you have a higher grades but the knowledge that you have learned is not enough. So the high grades that you get is so nonsense. Okay. Number 12, design tests that encourage the kind of learning you want students to achieve. Okay, many students will learn whatever is necessary to get the grades they want or they desire. So if you base your test on memorizing details, students will focus on memorizing facts. If your test stress the synthesis and evaluation of information, students will be motivated to practice those skills when they study. So they will not focus on memorizing. They will focus in all part of the lesson. 13. Avoid using grades as threats. As McKinsey 1986 points out, the threat of low grades may prompt some students to work hard, but the effect of this in other students resort to academic dishonesty, excuses for late work, and other counterproductive behavior. So we're done with the instructional strategies, motivation. So let us proceed to social strategies for motivation. It's all about social, okay? Give students feedback as quickly as possible. For example, return test papers promptly and reward success publicly and immediately. Give students some indication of how well they have done and how to improve. Rewards can be as simple as saying a student's response was good, excellent, with an indication of why it was good, or mention the name of contributors. Number 2, reward success. Both positive and negative comments influence motivation, but research consistently indicates that students are more affected by positive feedback and success. Praise builds students' self-confidence, competence, and self-esteem. Recognize sincere efforts even if the product is less than stellar. If a student performance is weak, let the student know that you believe he or she can improve it and succeed over time. So it will help to boost his or her confidence and will study hard also. Okay, introduce students to do the good work done by their peers. Evidence is accumulating that peer learning creates greater confidence and independence in learning, deeper understanding, and improved grades for both peer leaders and their students, which reinforce the foundation that if you teach a peer a subject, you gain a deeper understanding of that subject. Okay. Next, be specific when giving negative feedbacks. Negative feedback is very powerful and can lead to a negative class atmosphere. Whenever you identify a student's weakness, it makes clear that your comments relate to a particular task or performance, not to the student as a person. Okay, don't make negative comments nebulous. Try to cushion negative comments with a compliment about the aspects of the task in which the student succeeded. Avoid demeaning comments. Okay, many students in your class may be anxious about their performance and abilities. Okay, be sensitive how you praise your comments and avoid offhand remarks that might prick their feelings of inadequacy. So, we as a teachers, we need to filter our words or think before we speak so that the students will not be affected or hurt by what we are saying to them. Okay, last, social strategies for motivation. Avoid giving in to students' pleas for the answer to homework problems. Okay, when you simply give struggling students the solution, you rob them of the chance to think for themselves. Use a more productive approach. For example, ask the students for one possible approach to the problem. Number 2, gently brush aside students' anxiety about not getting the answer by refocusing their attention on the problem at hand. Number 3, ask the students to build on what they do know about the problem. And number 4, praise the students for small independent steps. Go. If you follow these steps, your students will learn that it is alright not to have an instant answer. They will also learn to develop greater patience and to work at their own pace. And by working through the problem, students will experience a sense of achievement and confidence that will increase their motivation to learn. And if we teach this to our students, they will learn not having an instant answer. So they will study more and study harder for their better future and for them to succeed in the class.